Strategy, technology, demos, and stories from Adobe Consulting. This is the Experience Lab Podcast. Hey, and welcome back to the Experience Lab Podcast. I'm your host, Chris from Adobe, as always, and you're getting a solo one from me today. Today's a nice little one, but today I want to talk to you about something really important. Today, we're talking about the biggest issue that I see with marketing organizations that just might be killing your campaigns. It's when your creative, your content, and your experience strategy are all living in different silos. The result? Well, a few things. First, you've got campaigns that look amazing and don't do anything. Then you've got content getting published but not activated. And perhaps you've got personalized journeys that they either feel too generic or they're just not connected to the content itself. So I'm ready if you are. Let's break this down on the Experience Lab podcast. So here's the problem. Your brand team is focused on the idea and making it look gorgeous. Your content team is focused more on production. It's the organization and scale of that content. And your experience team is focused on segments and signals. And technically, all three of those are correct. But when they're not working together, the result is this big, shiny, beautiful object that doesn't actually convert. I've seen beautifully designed creative that just gets handed off with no thought given to the targeting. I've also seen content models that are built with no personalization hooks or no room for personalization intuitively built into them. And then I've seen journey maps that sound really smart, but they don't have anything behind them other than lorem ipsum content and temporary banners while waiting for the creative, which shows me that they haven't thought through how all these things are coming together. And if I can see it in the planning phase, your customer can see it when they're on your page. What's wild about this scenario is that we're all aiming for the same thing: engagement, conversion, loyalty. We're just speaking totally different languages. The brand team wants on brand or creative or pretty. The content team wants scalable almost every time. And the experience team wants relevant. But we have to stop for a minute and think, what does the customer want? The customer wants all three, because all they care about is a great experience. That's all that matters to them. They don't want to see those layers. Now, because I'm particularly tuned to this sort of thing, I've actually visited websites where I felt like I was actually seeing their org structure right on the page in front of me. The ad I clicked didn't match the creative on the landing page. The content didn't speak to the offer that drew me in the first place. And the personalized content wasn't really connected to the experience. It was just some banner on the side, probably because the content team wouldn't let the experience team touch their stuff. And so what happens when teams don't actually talk is that you get these mismatches. You get headlines and CTAs that don't fit together. You get personalization on the wrong asset or to the wrong segment. You might spend months building journeys that never actually launch, or worse, you might launch and nothing moves, which I think for a lot of us has been the case. And then your leadership comes back and says, hey, wait a minute, why aren't we seeing some ROI on this thing? So what does good look like? Well, good looks like teams converging and coming together and working across those silos. It doesn't have to mean a reorg, although oftentimes that's what it takes. Good means shared KPIs. It means one use case owned together from design to delivery. And finally, I think this message is really, really important. In fact, if you take one thing away, I'd like you to take this message away, which is simplicity wins. Customers don't need something overcomplicated. They just need something cohesive. And oftentimes, cohesiveness is more powerful than the most advanced creative personalization you could possibly imagine. And when you get that turnaround, when you start doing some of these things, you land in this world where creatives know who they're designing for. And that who is shared across all teams. So they don't have their own persona that's different from the segment that's going to be used from an activation perspective. It's the same thing. And then your content teams will structure the assets in such a way that they can be reused and targeted. They're ready for personalization. In fact, in many cases, When you get this right, personalization is actually baked in from the beginning. And so all those variations are created at the outset based on what you want to learn to drive whatever that KPI is. And then you have experienced teams that are building segments that are wired. They are wired directly into the campaign from the very beginning, meaning that the segment that is used for paid media targeting is the same segment that's used for personalization when I land on the page. And finally, just speaking back to that simplicity concept, we stop overthinking because we're not trying to engineer ourselves around disconnected assets and content. We're not trying to get around injecting something because another team won't let us touch their content, so we have to find other places to put it, right? We take this simple, targeted approach to showing a customer something that they might actually want. And this is where tools like AM and Target and AEP are actually starting to really sing, because it gives you that concept of centralized content and assets and audiences and all of the wonderful things that this technology can do. But it only really sings when your people are well aligned. So if you want to fix this, here's some places that I might give you to consider starting. First, and this one's really powerful, and I stole this from customers who've done this really well. Have a campaign manager role. This is somebody who helps orchestrate across silos and brings people together. I had a financial customer who owns banks, and they called it a journey manager. And their journey managers were split across different lines of business. So they had a journey manager for credit cards and another journey manager for mortgages. This meant that any campaign for a credit card was orchestrated by one person across all the teams, and that was their way of keeping people together, and it worked really well. I have another customer who runs on a very lean team of 6 to 8 people throughout the year. And their team's so tight and they all sit in the same room together that it just organically happens in the room for them. That might be right for them because they can have a small team. That might not be right for you. And the journey manager might be a good solution to get across teams. The next thing you can do is look at running a kickoff meeting for every campaign that includes all of the groups. This is where you're going to get aligned on what the audience is, what's the targeting, obviously things like dates, but think more about the campaign and its messaging and success than you might today. And then what I want you to do is I want you to think about choosing a real business outcome, not just a marketing output. And what I mean by that is if you're in the B2B world, it's not just about leads, it's about closed deals. And that's going to take some analytics. That's going to take some data for you to really understand which KPIs you're able to move with which marketing tactics. But don't just make the marketing tactic itself the goal. Then you can map out that end-to-end delivery path, but not just the design or the content brief, but map it out across all teams all the way from the very beginning to where you open Photoshop and start drawing an ad to the very end when you're looking at a dashboard that shows you how this campaign did. And finally, and this is really important, we talked about this on the last episode with Jerry, celebrate the collaboration, not just the creative. Celebrate what worked, how teams came together, and talk about it. Because the best campaign in the world doesn't really matter if nobody sees it or if they see it and it doesn't resonate. So ask yourself, is your campaign aligned from pixel to personalization? If not, I think now's the time to break the silos. Align those teams, finally deliver the experiences that you thought you were designing all along. Thanks for listening. If this episode hit a bit of a nerve, share it with your team. Book some time to discuss it together as one team, and I will see you next time on the Experience Lab podcast. This has been the Adobe Experience Lab podcast.